Two readings for this morning come from the book of Romans and from the book of Matthew. Romans chapter 11. Paul writes, I ask then, has God rejected his people? By no means. I myself am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham, a member of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not rejected his people whom he foreknew. For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. Just as you were once disobedient to God, but have now received mercy because of their disobedience, so they have now been disobedient, in order that by the mercy shown you, they too may receive mercy. For God has imprisoned all in disobedience, that he may be merciful to all. And from the Gospel of Matthew, the 15th chapter. Jesus called the crowds to him and said to them, Listen and understand. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but it is what comes out of the mouth that defiles. Then the disciples approached and said to him, Do you know that the Pharisees took offense at what they heard you say? He answered, Every plant my Father has planted will be uprooted. Every plant that my Father has not planted will be uprooted. Let them alone, they are blind guides of the blind, and if one blind person guides another, both fall into a pit. But Peter said to him, Explain the parable to us. And he said, Are you still without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth enters the stomach and goes out into the sewer? But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this is what defiles. For out of the heart come evil intentions, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, slander. These are what defile a person. But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile. And Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Just then a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon. But he did not answer her at all, and all of his disciples came and urged him, saying, Send her away, for she keeps shouting at us. Jesus answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. He answered, It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. She said, Yes, Lord. Yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Then Jesus answered her, Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish. And her daughter was healed instantly. Word of God, word of life. Thanks be to God. Grace to you and peace from our triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. This text comes to us, and it comes with some challenges. It comes with challenges of language. It comes with the challenge of understanding the Pharisees or the Sadducees. It comes with complexities, and it feels like a certain amount of Jesus' rudeness as we read through it, as the language of being called a dog comes to mind. As I think about this, I am reminded back when, shortly after I graduated college, I was working in the Twin Cities, and a buddy of mine worked at Knott's Camp Snoopy, kind of a theme park, amusement park place, and they would do shows, and they would write their own scripts, and they were, presenting scripts that had Snoopy and Charlie Brown and Lucy and all those in them, and it was fun. And one week, a gentleman that was a part of the headquarters that, Knott's Camp Snoopy and all that, showed up at one of the shows, and it just so happened that in this show, there was a moment in the script where Snoopy says, woof. Now, I don't know if you know Snoopy. I hope you do. Snoopy and Charles Schulz, the author of the script, Peanuts, is just an absolute gift. But he said to them they couldn't do that anymore. They had to stop doing that version of it. They had to rewrite it because Snoopy never says woof. Snoopy's a dog, but Snoopy doesn't know he's a dog. And so they had to stop doing that. What is interesting within the next few months is clearly this had made it back to Charles Schulz, and in one of the Peanuts cartoons, in one of the weekday cartoons, you see Snoopy on all fours. And he just says, woof. It was as if there was a moment where he knew who he was. Snoopy knew he was a dog. Martin Luther, when he talked about the reality of the life that we live, Martin Luther, when he talked about us and the struggles that we have, referred to us as beggars, that when we come before the Lord, we are always and forever beggars. There is nothing we earn. Everything simply comes from the gracious hand of God to fall to us, and we are blessed in the gift that comes, because we cannot earn that. We cannot take that on our own. And so we come as beggars. I think there's something about that. As I read the text of the woman in Matthew today, as I read the story of the Canaanite woman, Jesus says, I cannot give the food that belongs to the children to the dogs. And I think what I am struck with is, I think Jesus has a sense that she knows who she is. She knows she comes as a beggar. She knows she comes as an outsider. If he wants to use the language of dogs, she doesn't care. She's here not to worry about how she's treated. She's come because her daughter is ill. But he says this to her, and her reaction isn't, don't you dare say things about me. Don't you dare use language. There's no pushback. There's simply a woman who says, fine, yes, but even dogs eat by the gracious hand of the master as food falls to the floor at the table. I think there's a sense in our text in the first half that the Pharisees or the Sadducees, they don't have a sense that they come before God and don't have a right to demand or don't have a right to be that upfront person, that there is something about standing before God and recognizing that all that you receive comes from the gracious hand of God. I hear Psalm 23, my cup is overflow, that what I receive, even what fills me, is the overflow that comes from the hand of God, and I am blessed by it. And in this interchange, as this woman simply says, fine, I'm a dog, but even dogs eat, Jesus says to her, great is your faith. To this Canaanite outsider, to this woman in a patriarchal time, to this, yelling out, obstructing, getting in the way, being obtrusive person, Jesus looks with he had to have a smile on his face at this, and he says, great is your faith, your daughter is healed. And that must, all of whatever transpired before that doesn't matter. She has come as a beggar, she has been granted a blessing, and she goes home with a gift. I am familiar with that cry. I think we have all had times in our lives when we have come before the Lord with a beggar's heart, crying, praying that we would find some sense of space. My sister, diagnosed in the late 80s with schizophrenia, I cried to the Lord. I found myself in tears at times praying that my sister would find her way back through the fog, through the chaos, through the unruly mind that lied to her again and again, that felt nothing short of demonic. I prayed after my dad's accident in 2001 that left him quadriplegic with no feeling below his neck. I find myself on my knees and in tears praying that he would have feeling, that he would be able to walk, that he would be able to hike and dance and celebrate as a man who seemed to never stop moving in this life. And I would find myself in tears in those places, and yet at the same time, in the midst of all of the chaos and the fog and the loss of self, touch and feel, there were blessings in that. There were blessings in the conversation I'd have with my dad that I all too often missed because I was so concerned about what was missing. I couldn't see what was present. The blessing, the gift, the mind, the brilliance, the kindness, the grace that my father brought. With my sister Karen, there was always the grace of her heart and her kindness. And it would at times be buried by the fog of schizophrenia, but every now and then, in the presence of her nieces, even every now and then in the presence of her brother, There would be that smile that would seem to be a glimpse of the woman that she had been before, and that joy would be present, and there were gifts in that. And if I could get away from just knowing, right, what I'm missing, I could see that God was acting in some moments here and there in beautiful ways. I lost my dad almost 5 years ago, lost my sister now 3 years ago, coming up soon. And now they are in a place where my sister's fog is gone, where my father dances and rejoices in the presence of those that have gone before him, and they have been healed. And we here, we continue to mourn and we continue to see what is missing. But if we stop for just a minute and recognize the place that we have at the table of the Lord, if we stop and recognize the gift of grace, the gift of the Master who loves us, the gift of the Master who feeds us, that our entire lives come as a blessing undeserved from one who loves us, from one who will not let us go. We can see that they rest in the arms of this one. We can see that we in this life rest in the arms of this one, and we come, yes, we come as beggars. Call us dogs if you need to, but we come before this Lord that never fails us, that is always with us, that protects us, and one day will guide us home. Will give us a promise, and the faith, yes, maybe it's great in this life. Maybe it's not great in this life, but it is never our ability or our goodness to sit at the table that defines the gifts that come to us. It is entirely a gift because of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. God loved us so much, he took on flesh, suffered, died, and defeated all that would defeat us, so that we too would know that that promise, that one day the fog will be gone, that one day we will dance and rejoice in the heavens, that one day the one who was with us here we will see face to face, and we will give thanks. I pray that this week you are able to give thanks where you are, trusting the God who will never let you go, that won't let anything in all creation separate you from his love. I pray that you have a sense of that grace and presence.